Good morning. Welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show. Trying to make sense of this crazy Arizona market. It's supposed to be a pretty decent week weather-wise. We won't be walking on the surface of the sun. Only supposed to be 102 today. That's much better than the 114s, 115s we've been having. And doesn't look like we're going to have any storms. So is that normal? Because that's what we're going to talk about today is what is normal. I read a commentary yesterday by Michael Orr from the Cromford Report, and I'm just going to read one paragraph for you today. And what it says here is when supply and demand are in balance, the CMI Cromford Market Index is around 100. But this happens much less than you might think. Get this, over the past 24 years, we have tended to be mostly in a seller's market. And when we're not, we often have a buyer's market. In a buyer's market, days on market values get very high, even well into the hundreds of days. Since we are rarely in a balanced market, sellers experiencing them tend to think they are worse than balanced because they feel worse than normal. They are worse than normal because normal market is unbalanced in favor of sellers. Balance and normal are not the same thing. I found that interesting. What he's saying is, look, for the majority of the past 24 years, we're in a seller's market. It's easier for you sellers. And when we're not, the pendulum swings totally the other way and the advantages for buyers. So when we sit here today and we look and say, well, we're balanced, the Cromford Market Index is about 97 today, kind of getting down into a buyer's market except for about 7 parts of the valley. It feels really odd. And so we're balanced, but it's not normal. Does that make sense? In other words, normal for us is it seems like we're either selling houses like crazy or we're not. It's crashed. And that's where we're at today. We're at this kind of the doldrums. We're muddling along, and our interest rates are kind of driving that. We're sitting here at 6.54 today. Let me refresh it and see if anything's changed in the past few minutes, and nothing has. If we go here and look at what he spoke of median agent days on market, we're at 37 for the month of August. We haven't been at 37 in the month of August until looks like, we were at 38 here for December. So it's the highest it's been in over 10 years for the month of August. In other words, taking a little bit longer to sell your home now in August than it has the past 10 years. Having said that, though, they're still selling. Here's our dashboard, folks. Our listing count, guess what? 17,753. It's either 17.8 or 18.1. And it just can't seem to break above that 18,000 mark by much, saying our sold listings are down 9.2% for the last 30 days, and our under contract 72.18. Sold to list price ratio right here. You can see that the gap between the two really hasn't moved that much. Price per square foot staying relatively the same, and supply and demand is staying relatively the same down here where you watch this chart. So supply and demand is the biggest measure of the Cromford Market Index, and that's what we're seeing and feeling. And here is the Cromford Market Index right there now. We took a little dip. We were at 100.4, 99.7, 99.7. So we haven't changed this week. It's just staying right there, bouncing along on the basement. And we alluded to 2014, saying we haven't seen days on market since then. For August, let's see what 2014 looks like. They're just about the same. Take a look at that. Not a lot of difference here when it comes to where we're at today. They were at 2014, 100.6. Then it started climbing up. That doesn't mean that we're going to start climbing up now. If there's one thing that we've learned over time is that it's hard to historically go back and look at anything right now, simply because we haven't had this much influence in real estate in the market with quantitative easing in any time in our history. So as we start to unwind from that, we'd have to go way back into the early 80s to get something even close. But it's hard to hang your hat on and go, oh, the last time this happened. Well, When was the last time? Actually, the 1940s, when we came out of the war. Then a lot of quantitative tightening started to show up, or quantitative easing to get the economy going. But it was, again, totally different time. So we can't really look at history right now and glean anything from it, in my humble opinion. Here's the average list price per square foot. Started out the year at 358.87, and we are at 342.6. So the average list price has finally come down. Don't compare that to the average sold price, because what we were seeing back here was people were listing, I think I can get this, and the sales price were considerably lower. Oh, I guess I can't get that. And that's where we saw a lot of price reductions. In fact, let's take a look while we're on here now and see what our price reductions are, price changes, and see if anything's jumping out at us there. And actually, they've gone down a little bit. We were at 2,200 here last week, and we're 2,000 this week. So we're not getting a whole lot of price reductions. Actually, with the interest rates making the small move that they did in the right direction, we are seeing a slight uptick in sales activity. You can see down the bottom, new contracts are at 2417. They were rocking about 2,200, so they haven't gone up much, about 200 units. And I think that's reflected in the number of price cuts. But the number of contributions that are out there are growing. And look here at our month supply. It went down. It was 2.9. Now it's 2.8. So we're kind of staying put, and I expect this to be right here as we get into the fall, based on what I'm seeing. And here's our active listings again, just flat at a pancake. Little tiny dip up from 17.6 to 17.8, 200 homes. But remember, I just showed you we had 200 more contracts over the past 7 days. So it's not rocking the world too much. Listings canceled per week. On my 7-day moving average, I was seeing that climb up about 200 over the past 7 days, and including last week. But I go in and look in total here, and you can see it's the green line right here. We're at 260. So we did spike up here. We are kind of slightly ahead of the past few years, and right there at one point with 2022, where they had 420 canceled listings, and week 40 of 2022, we had 588, which was a peak. So canceled listings are people just saying, well, I tried it, and it didn't work, so I'm just going to pull it off the market. Or, you know what? That job change that looked like I got, I guess I'm not getting it. I don't have to move. There's a million different reasons why you'll have a canceled listing. And that's what we were seeing. We were seeing people just saying, for the most part, well, let's see if we can get this for the house. Put it on the market. Give it the old college try. I'll come down on price just a little bit, but I'm not going to go nuts. If I can't get what I want, I'm going to pull it off the market. And they did. Expired listings are not really trending higher than what they've been. They're kind of right around the average. An expired listing is almost like a canceled listing. Somebody listed it for 90 days, or they listed it for 120 days. It didn't sell, so the listing expired, and your phone rang off the hook. If you've ever had an expired listing, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's just, there's a whole industry out there in the real estate world where they get a list in the morning of expired listings, and there's a phone number associated with it that they can find. And even though you're on the do not call list, they will call you. Hi, I see your listing expired. Can you tell me why it didn't sell? And then you go, well, I don't. What they're looking for is they're looking for you to say, well, I don't think I had a good realtor. Oh, well, tell me about that. There's scripts out there. And then when you say I didn't have a good realtor, they go, well, what do you think they didn't do? Well, they didn't find me a buyer or something like that. Well, let me tell you what I can do. And your phone's just going to ring and ring and ring. And you might hear somebody that just says the right words and you go, okay, well, I'll give it a try. And so they pound the phones for 3 hours a day, and they play the numbers. And eventually they get somebody that says, all right, I can do that. Now, last night, I posted a video I encourage you all to watch where I'm talking about the changes that just came across here, August 1st in our market. The rest of the country is going to do it in a few days, August 17th. And what we're seeing is a lot of confusion in both with realtors and with buyers and sellers. And we're seeing in the media that they're not singing the right tune. They're not telling you the truth. It's not their fault. They're just not looking into it. They see a headline and they follow it. So one of the things that I want to hit on, and I'll probably talk about this every time you see me on here, and I want to really stress for buyers out there, this new agreement that's called the Buyer-Broker Agreement to Show Property. This is what is required of us now. And we have to disclose to you what our fees are. Doesn't mean you as a buyer have to pay that fee, because there are plenty of homes out there that are still offering the buyer-broker compensation. Now, some people think that the law has changed and you can't offer compensation anymore. And so there are plenty of sellers out there that are offering it. And you as a buyer, if they aren't offering it, you can ask for it. This agreement shows right here, and this is where what I want you to do and what I want you to concentrate on, is if you're going out to show a home, and I'm trying to click on that little magnifying glass, and it's not going to let me. There it is. Term. Somebody, you want to go see a home, and I'd like to see it this weekend. You've never met this agent. Maybe he was showing up on the Big Z page, and you called him, and or maybe you just ran into him in an open house, and they say, here, you've got to sign this agreement by law because I can't show you a house without that. Okay, that's true. But when they use the term by law, it's not like you're going to be arrested or I'm going to be arrested. It's a requirement now by our board. And so it has a term here. This agreement shall commence on, here's the day that you signed this agreement. Today's August 12th. I want to go see a house today. When do I want this agreement to expire? When do I, as a buyer, want this agreement to expire? Well, if I'm only looking at one house, two houses with this guy for one day, I want it to expire midnight that same day. And I want to be able to see and learn more about that realtor. I want to be able to say, okay, well, let me look into this and let me see if that's the real estate agent that I want to work with. And then there's a thing called the buyer agency agreement. What I'm seeing, and this is your watch out, folks, I'm seeing agents having you sign that and they're putting the expiration date 6 months out. Give me a break. Jessica and I, we sign short ones. Well, when do you want to look at homes? Okay, I will look at this weekend. Okay, well, let's draft up an agreement for the weekend. And if you decide you want to work with this, then, we'll draft a longer agreement, and we're not going to lock you into anything. And then we'll sign an agency agreement. And agency agreements are kind of confusing. I won't go into it now. But we're seeing some interesting stuff out there in that while there's this narrative that says that sellers don't have to pay buyer agent compensation, the builders are taking advantage of that. See, we're not allowed to post buyer compensation on the multiple listing service. A lot of you didn't see that anyway. It really wasn't as visible as people thought it was. And quite honestly, you didn't really care what the seller was compensating the agent for. Well, now what I'm seeing is, since all of the chatter out there is, hey, guess what? Sellers aren't offering compensation. We will. They're offering, I'm getting emails and ads on properties. Not only are the interest rates really low on these 3-2-1 buyouts, buy downs that they've got, starting at 1.5%. Yes, you heard that right, out of Blossom Rock. But they're offering 3% to agents to bring them buyers. In other words, they're taking full advantage of what they see is a lull in the market where sellers aren't offering agents anything, and they want agents to move over to new construction. Say, hey, we're over here. I know we kind of screwed you guys in 2021. We weren't paying you anything. The buyers were showing up, but things have changed, and we're offering you 3% now. I saw this morning on a video, there is a place in Florida offering agents 8%. Bring us a buyer. That's right, 8%. So think about why that's happening. They want agents to bring them the buyers, pull them over to their open. Let's go take a look at Blossom Rock, see what they got going on. And versus somebody that's got a home for sale and they're not offering anything, and you might have to work with them directly. They're offering handsomely at the new builds for agents to go show properties. Now, sellers, The video I put out last night shows you the listing contract, shows you what your options are, and there are many. I encourage you to take a look at that. I'm going to, after this video processes, I can put a link in the top, a little card that you can click on to go watch that, or you can just search for it. And it, like I say, it launched last night. But I'm just trying to educate people on what changed, what's going on in the forms that we need to see. And actually, nothing's changed that much. Now, the market's slower than all get out. The bond market has reacted and priced in the price cuts for September. So and there was chatter last week when the market crashed. Last Monday was totally different than this Monday. Oh, the central bank needs to come in with some emergency measures. No, chill. It all worked out. They don't come in if the stock market had a bad day. They've only come in hard a couple times. That was at 2008 with the financial crisis, 2020 when they shut everything down. It's hard-pressed to find any emergency responses that they've done prior to those two events. So a 1,000 point drop in the stock market doesn't make them open the floodgates, and we don't want them to do that. So the market's already priced in a price cut, an interest rate cut in September, and that makes it more likely that when the central bank does cut, that nothing's really going to move. So I think the rates that we're seeing now that are hovering about 6.5, probably going to get down to 6.3, maybe 6.1, and that's it until we see what they do in December. So I think that's why I think the fall numbers and the fall sales right now are just going to stay exactly what we're seeing. It's going to muddle along. So it's not difficult to sell homes in Chandler and Gilbert. Right now, it's not hard to sell homes in Fountain Hills. Getting pretty tough in Paradise Valley. Homes are sitting out there quite a bit longer. They're tied more to the jitty nerves of the stock market, so people kind of sit on their hands. You'd be surprised how many of those large homes are sold for cash. But in our market, homes are moving. People are calling us and saying, I'd like to see homes. I'm ready. I'm glad it's not 2021. I got outbid so many times, I'd like to make another run at it. Now, on my website, rickhelps.com, I had spoken earlier that there was a guy named Tom Ruff who produced this market report, and he retired. And I thought, well, we'll never see that again. I was wrong. They're still producing it. So if you go to rickhelps.com and on the top here, and you click on that, you can download that report, and it doesn't ask you for an email address, your name, your phone number, so that I can call you and bug you. You just download it. I put it in Google Drive, so you can just pull it right off of there. And it comes out about the second week of each month and takes a look at last month. It's a pretty extensive report when you look at it, and I'll show you a sample right here. I kind of like it. You can see that it's got sold listings, new listings, active listings, under contract, months of supply, absorption rate. That's, if you're a data wonk, this page is for you. So it shows you all the data. What it no longer includes is market commentary by Tom Ruff. So he used to write, here's what's happened, here's where I think the market's going, and that part is no longer there. So that's the only thing that's missing, which is too bad, but hey, he's worked hard all his life. He deserves a good retirement. So I hope that helps you. Do me a favor and go check out the video that I put out last night talking about the forms, talking about what has changed. I really go into detail, and I hope you look at it to protect yourself, to understand what you have to do, and more importantly, what you don't have to do. I don't want to see anybody get roped into something they don't have to do. So the narrative was the 6% commission's gone. It was never there in the first place, folks. You could always pay whatever you wanted, whatever the market would bear. You have that discussion with your agent. Agent says, I charge this. Well, I would like to pay this. Well, it's not going to work for me. Okay, well, I'll find another agent. I'll find a flat fee guy. We had a comment last week where someone said, why do I have to pay the same percentage for both of my rental houses I'm selling and my main house? And my answer was, well, you don't. Negotiate it. Pay what you agree to. And you may decide that maybe that's the best way to go is the same percentage on all. And you may find a realtor goes, geez, 3 properties? I'm going to give you a heck of a break. So there's a lot of choices out there for you as consumers. And the lawsuit that came about was simply brought about because people were not educating the consumers on the choices that they had, so they all thought the fees were fixed. They took it to court. National Association of Realtors lost, and here we are. So that's what's going on in our market. If you have any questions, shoot me an email at rick@rickhelps.com. Have a great Monday and take on the rest of the week. Take care.